It's been a long and tiring journey, documenting the abomination known as Disney Star Wars. Watching one of the most incredible IPs on the planet slowly be stripped of all of its substance. A broken, sloppy mess, devoid of character or continuity, and is only considered enjoyable by the dehydrated zombies that have been beaten down and conditioned to accept this type of quality.
Red. That's red.
And after the war crimes of The Last Jedi and the treachery of Kenobi, I didn't think there was anything left they could do to faze me, as every character that I have any investment in has either been butchered or disgraced. So in a story a century before the prequels, with a cast full of characters that I don't give a shit about, just how bad could it possibly be? But it turns out that the Acolyte is a special kind of stupid that's very difficult to quantify. A story as wasteful as Mando, as broken as Boba Fett, as painful as Kenobi, and as boring as Ahsoka, while being fully convinced that it's the smartest one in the room and as well written and meaningful as Andor. From the world to the characters to the plot to even the themes, it's a show that makes no sense in basically every aspect of storytelling, but desperately wants you to believe that it's a deep, meaningful exploration of the Jedi, the bond between siblings, and the trauma of childhood. Touching on subjects that it's completely ill-equipped to discuss, introducing characters and concepts that it's not prepared to develop, and centered around one of the most brain-dead murder mysteries you'll ever see. There is a million different ways to explain why this is a pile of shit, and so many different approaches to take for analysis, but I'd like to take the time to discuss one of the most frustrating and insulting character arcs I've seen in years, as I break down the legend of Soul, the Sad Jedi, a man that redefines the terms nerfed and inconsistent, written so horribly that you can barely comprehend his story, but still portrayed by the likable and talented actor from Squid Game, Lee Jung-jae, who apparently learned English just for this role and has the potential to carry the show all by himself, but is forced to play second fiddle to an actress that's so unbelievably untalented that she makes me miss Reva.
You have no rights here. We're not under the Empire's...
He is introduced instructing a class of younglings on the basics of the Force, and we get our first glimpse of his subtle stupidity, as he tells them to close their eyes, but forgets about the Funko Pop kid to his right, creating an awkward first impression, and probably ruining this kid's self-esteem. He's informed by the miserable vegetable that his friend Jedi Master Trinity was killed by a butter knife, and the main suspect is his former apprentice, Asha.
She saw us as her protectors. There must be some mistake.
We see him interrogate a prisoner to try to confirm her location, establishing his incredible power with the Force, essentially extracting the information he needs and claiming to be able to feel that she's still alive. And in just a few scenes with this character, it's clear that he's incredibly invested in Asha and plagued by regret, recalling the sad story of her sister May starting a fire that killed their entire family, and the Jedi adopting Asha to preserve her future.
Do you think that...
No. May is dead.
So we see Soul and his team of Jedi stumbling across an icy planet in order to track her down. And if shamelessly ripping off Kill Bill's revenge plot wasn't bad enough, they directly copy a scene from The Fugitive.
May is alive.
I believe you.
Well, hold on there, pal. I thought you just showed you can pull the info right out of their head. Why do you need to believe her? A Jedi Master is dead. This is a horrible situation. Don't you think we should confirm this?
You need to come with us. Let's go.
Okay then. So Yord breaks down all the reasons why they shouldn't trust her, and Soul ignores all his logic and basically says don't be a pussy. Then he's informed by Picklehead that another crime is being committed by a suspect matching Osha's description, essentially confirming that her sister is still alive and sending them on another investigation. We see the crew head to Olega, just in time to find the body of Jedi Master Torben, after May broke in and convinced him to kill himself out of shame for what he did to her.
Forgive me. We thought we were doing the right thing.
And after meeting her accomplice, they set up a trap for May in the hopes of bringing her to justice. May attacks him with her shitty kung fu, and Soul styles on her, showing his proficiency in hand-to-hand combat and his connection to the Force, displaying the massive difference in power between them.
Get out of my head, Jedi.
She is totally surrounded. Soul just embarrassed her entire skill set. Yord stole her last butter knife, and even the young Padawan Jeki is in the ship talking shit.
In the name of the Galactic Son of the Republic, lay your weapons down and surrender.
So May is forced to release the true power of the dark side. Soul is completely overwhelmed. A Jedi Master is defeated by Augustus San and is unable to capture his target. Working around these kinds of problems is your opportunity to show your talent as a writer, but they would rather put characters on pause and hope we won't notice. So we finally get our flashback to flesh out the dramatic history of our characters. And we find out that the twins grew up in a cult of lesbian space witches who use their own interpretation of the Force known as the Thread. And we see a group of Jedi coming to investigate.
What is your name?
Sure.
My name is Saul.
But just like every other piece of narrative progression in this show, the plot cannot resume without some kind of stupid action.
That marking, it wasn't there this morning.
You're spying on us?
They want to take our children!
The Jedi do not take children.
Hold your tongue or I cut it out for you!
And even though she just gave them permission to chat with the Jedi, Mother Anastasia, the leader of the cult, decides to torture the innocent Padawan right in front of them.
If you want your Padawan returned to his right mind, I suggest you all leave. Now.
And even after expressing their disdain for the Jedi, they let the girls go with them to take the test. I've seen this episode 3 times and I still don't understand why. None of this makes any sense.
Jedi have the right to test potential Padawans. With your permission, of course.
So Asha takes their test, and after seeing that the child was clearly told to fail on purpose, Sol tells her about his time with the Jedi and all the other kids that she can meet and convinces her to come with them. And for some reason I will never understand, this makes her sister go completely insane and threatens to kill her if she leaves.
Can't stop me. Yes, I can. How? I'll kill you.
Leading to her burning down the building. And even though it's clearly built out of stone, it spreads like a forest fire and takes out the entire facility. No discussion of their opinions on the Jedi or the witches or why this is so important for May that Asha stays. They would rather take this time to show her torturing animals, starting fights and attempting to burn her sister alive.
Where's Mama? Mama's dead.
What the fuck you mean your mom is dead? What the hell is happening?
What have you done? What have you done? What have you done?
But before you can process how stupid this is, the bridge collapses, and instead of just using the Force to save the children and spare us from this terrible story, Sol watches May fall and is barely able to save Asha. Another example of his powers being turned off to progress the plot, but clearly not enough to explain his guilt, as after a 40-minute flashback we still don't really understand what happened and there has to be more to this story.
They started a fire. It destroyed everything.
They head to the planet Khofar to extract Master Kelnaka, May's next target. And even in a show this crap, the idea of a Wookiee Jedi could be a lot of fun. And I'm really curious to see what they... Well, fuck that I guess. They kill his ass off screen after hyping him up and introduce us to May's master, Smilo Ren. Disney's most recent attempt at siphoning the essence of Vader.
You are so right.
So he floats out of a tree with his stupid smile, and with one hand he manages to force push the entire squad of Jedi, sending them flying through the air. Then he proceeds to delete all the red shirts who panic and die like it's their first day on the job. And after all the no-name Jedi get murked, he is confronted by Master Sol.
Civilian, to the ship!
And just like a Jedi Master should, he engages the mysterious Sith. And for the first time in ages, we get a lightsaber fight that is slightly compelling. For a character that I've roasted since the trailers, I actually appreciate his dynamic fighting style. And Sol's performance throughout the season has made it hard not to root for him, especially if it's him defending his team. But the 2 golden rules with any Disney Star Wars project is that any potential quality that can be achieved in a show must immediately be destroyed and exchanged with stupidity. And when the Force is female, any opportunity for a girl boss scene must be taken, no matter the context and no matter the consequences. So rather than finishing off Sol, Smilo runs off to take out the real threat, Jeki, the young Padawan. The child that was training with sticks and eating Happy Meals just a few days ago is now the biggest threat to the Sith. And for the second time in a row, they have Sol get lost in the forest so Smilo can have a fight scene in peace. So after absolutely wrecking a group of Jedi Knights, we see him struggle to subdue a Padawan. Sol finally gets back in the fight, refusing to have any further casualties, and we see the Master and Apprentice work as a team to take down their enemy, showing the years of experience that they have together and how prepared they are for this moment. Nah, that would make too much sense, wouldn't it? So instead, we see Sol get put on pause once again, frozen in carbonite, and forced to watch his Padawan die. This man has been strictly characterized as someone who would do anything for his students, and rather than working around this essential trait of his, they constantly rob him of any agency or dignity. And Yord, the young Jedi Knight who has done nothing but try to prove his worth, only to be insulted and ignored by his comrades, jumps into the fight to try to help. Do you remember the concern he had for Asha when he thought she was in danger?
Asha! Run!
Well, this is her reaction to his death. And what can I even say about Sol at this point? It's like the writers are trying to make us hate him by forcing him to do the stupidest things he can do in every single scene. Every single death that took place here is on his hands, which could actually be something that would be interesting to work with if it was set up correctly. But once again, they butcher any opportunity for a meaningful scene and leave us with nonsense. So Sol, now freed from the oppression of the pause button, proceeds to beat the shit out of Smilo Ren. This guy was strong enough to force push his entire crew with ease, but is somehow getting boxed up and embarrassed. Sol! You've got to be fucking kidding me. This guy just killed Yord, someone you've known since you were a child. He killed Jeki, someone you had feelings for. He just tried to kill you, you stupid fool. Can you and the writers kindly fuck off and let Sol do something smart, please? I beg you.
You trust him? Even after everything he did to you.
His mind is twisted by darkness.
I've accepted my darkness. What have you done with yours?
Okay, what the hell happened on Brendok? How are you going to convince me that Sol is anywhere near as evil as this dude after what we just saw? What the fuck are you doing, show? So this guy goes from Uber Sith Lord 3000 to getting unmasked by a child, beaten down and kidnapped by moths. Ugh, you had something here, for the briefest of moments. But just like you did with Kylo, they ruin him before he's even properly introduced.
The map to Skywalker. We know you found it.
So Asha, instead of mourning her friends or thanking Sol for saving her life, decides to instantly believe the guy who was just trying to chop her head off.
Why did he say I shouldn't trust you? What did you do? And
May, instead of thanking Sol for trying to protect her, decides to shoot him in the back like the treacherous bitch she is.
I'll explain.
And then knocks out her sister for like the third time this season, right before chopping off her dreads to try to impersonate her. None of this makes any sense, yet somehow it works, and we see Sol take her back to the ship.
Osha, I'm going to reset the transceiver.
And in a scene he desperately needed, we get to see him acknowledge the loss of his crew and process his emotions. A brief moment to let the actor perform and remind us of the potential that he has with this role. Right before returning to embarrassing him, as he spends the rest of the episode unable to detect that it's not Asha, and they need him to be told by a fucking rodent rather than getting the chance to see him figure it out himself.
You and I are going to talk. I've had 16 years to think about what I would say to you if I ever got the opportunity.
So after all the build-up, we get our second flashback, and we see the events from the Jedi's perspective. After initially coming to investigate a source of Force energy, Sol discovers the twins, randomly, in a forest, on this giant planet, and decides to follow them, suspecting that they may be in great danger after what he witnesses. And once again, we get the scene of the Jedi approaching the witches, and we find out that Mother Anastasia was messing with Torben's head from the very start.
Ask me.
This second flashback is supposed to explain the guilt of the Jedi, and you decided to start it off with the young Padawan getting tortured even earlier this time. This is the shit I'm referring to when I say this show is broken. They can't even get the tiniest details right for such an essential part of their own story. And we find out that the twins were created by the virgins in the forest that they've been searching for, which causes Torben to rush off in a panic because his entire story is I'm sad and I want to go home.
We just need proof of a virgins, and those girls are the proof. This is our ticket home.
No explanation for why he wants to leave or if there's a legitimate reason that's aligned with his character. They skip all that shit just to make him the whiniest bitch in the galaxy.
I want to return to Coruscant.
Crazy Horn Lady tells May to get mad and basically encourages the rampage she goes on as she smashes the controls so nobody could get in or out. And after Soul senses Asha might be in danger, he confronts the leader of the cult.
It was foolish to come back here, Jedi.
We come with noble intentions.
You wish to know if we will allow Osha to join you? To be raised by an institution instead of a family.
They make it perfectly clear that they don't trust the Jedi and will never give up the girls. And May, after setting the fire herself, panics and cries for help because the place is on fire.
Osha!
And what happens next is something I simply don't have the words to describe. This psychotic witch turns into a demonic smoke cloud monster and tries to absorb the child into the Force, essentially killing her. And Soul, the fucking legend, slays this evil monster and saves her life and possibly many others. But the writers are so determined to make everything his fault that they literally forget what she said 10 seconds ago and try to make her out as the victim.
I was going to let Osha go. It's what she wants. She chose you.
What the hell are you? No!
I understand the idea of having a payoff that you're desperate to achieve, and watching the groundwork be laid out over time and every step you take to reach this goal is one of the best aspects of a story. But then there's moments like this where the writers simply give up and desperately hope that the audience is stupid enough to buy it. They pray the actor is convincing enough to sell it. They pay no attention to what happens in their own story. They create scenarios as broken and embarrassing as this. Why the fuck would Soul feel an ounce of guilt over any of this? Why in the world would Torben kill himself when he didn't do a single thing? How did May not see the giant monster and blame Soul when he literally saved her life? Why did she even start the goddamn fire in the first place? How the fuck did you write this? How did you screw this up this bad?
Jedi do not attack the unarmed. Yes, you do.
You had one job, make the Jedi guilty, and you still managed to do the opposite.
Fight me!
Horn Lady and the rest of the witches use the power of many to take over the mind of Kelnaka and sick him on Soul and Torben. And after Boba Fett and now this, I never want to see a Wookiee fight ever again. I'm good. But thankfully, Trinity shows up and annihilates the entire clan. And we finally get to see the full version of the bridge scene. The last chance to understand his guilt and find out the truth. Do you have any respect for your audience, Disney? The grounding of magic systems, the establishing of stakes. How can I possibly take your story seriously when you show that he's strong enough to hold up the bridge but isn't smart enough to pick up the child? How do you not catch this kind of thing on set? How did nobody stop this from happening? It cuts back to Soul on the ship with May on course for Brendok, as he's convinced that he can prove the existence of a Virgins now that both of them are alive.
Proof what? That murdering our mother was justified?
This is it, Soul. This is your moment. Tell her about the spooky smoke monster. Tell her you saved her fucking life after her demon of a mother tried to sacrifice her. Tell her, right now.
What happened to your coven was an accident.
No. Trinity killed all those fools. She knew what she was doing. But no, seriously, tell her about the monster.
Why did you blame it on me?
You started the fire. You locked everyone in.
Because the Jedi invaded our home.
No, you dumbass. You started the fire because you wanted to stop Asha from leaving.
I'll kill you.
How the hell is it their fault that you're a pyromaniac with abandonment issues? What is wrong with you?
Everyone in there died because of the four of you.
Wrong again, May. Everyone died because they used the power of many to try to wipe out the Jedi, and they found out that the threat is kind of trash. They died because they were stupid, May, just like you. What else you got?
My biggest regret is that I wasn't able to save you both.
Soul pours his heart out like he's done all season, and as he tries to tell her the truth about their birth, she stuns him as she makes her escape. Because if I haven't made it clear already, the writers shamelessly nerfed this man to progress the plot and have no idea how to write around this problem. Even after Soul catches up and tries to use the tractor beam to stop her, they randomly have the stupid little goblin betray him. He was literally their guide. He's on their side. Yord took the time to learn your stupid language, you little prick. What the fuck are you doing? Traitor! So May crash lands on the planet and Soul continues his pursuit. While Smilo and Asha head to the same planet after she has a vision of May killing Soul. And you're probably wondering, how did we go from this to this? But the answer is pretty simple. She saw his dong and she turned to the dark side in like an afternoon. He totally forgets about all the terrible things he has done, and they're practically dating at this point. Where have I seen that before? So the finale begins, and we get a pointless fight between Soul and Smilo to stall for time, doing nothing to progress their dynamic or flesh out their characters. And all it does is make me even more confused about Soul's power level. Man, this would have been pretty useful against May's Sand, but what the fuck do I know? Then we get an even more pointless fight between Asha and May that the writers are convinced is a dramatic climax, when even after an entire season, I don't understand either of these two. I don't know why they're fighting or why I should care. I don't even know how this is possible when May has the Force and Asha has been worthless this whole season. And for the second time in a row, Soul is interrupted when about to finish Smilo. You let that little girl disarm you.
Strike him down, and your journey will be complete.
Strike him down with what? You just watched her throw away the weapon, you moron. What?
I want him to confess what he did. I want him to face the High Council.
This can't be happening. This can't be happening. He wanted to confess 16 years ago, immediately, and Trinity denied him in order to protect your sister. And more importantly, there's nothing to confess. What the fuck are we talking about this for? Tell her about the goddamn Lord of Darkness. Come on, man. Do it. Please.
I wanted to protect you both.
Yes, I know. You've said it like 40 times, my dude. Can you please bring up the creature now?
You killed our mother.
Say it.
Yes. I did.
What can I even say at this point? Another example of a character with a logical argument shutting down when presented with an emotional appeal. It doesn't actually matter what happened or if it makes any sense. Their only goal was to blame Soul. So ignore all the people that May killed or assaulted. Forget the bodies that Smilo has piled. And boo this man for his horrible crimes.
You're a bum! You're a bum! You know that? You're a bum!
And of course, Asha shows up right at this moment. And even after saying that he's had 16 years to think about what to say, the writers refuse to let this man tell the truth.
I kept this from you, so you could have the life you'd always dreamed of. I did everything because I love.
Stop talking.
To put it simply, this is one of the most disgraceful conclusions I have ever seen. A scene that makes me question the sanity and the morality of these writers in a way that I've never done before. Good writers will tell you about the characters, how they feel, what they value, and will take the time to justify it through the progression of events in order for us to follow and stay invested. But bad writers will do the opposite. They tell you strictly about what they value. They pay no attention to the progression of events and the structure of their story, and focus only on the emotional payoffs, hoping that you will forgive their giant leaps in logic and clap for their scene. Soul did nothing wrong, and anyone who thinks that this is a meaningful payoff needs to reevaluate their life and the way they consume media. They leave his body on the ground to rot and run off before the Jedi arrive. Asha goes off to do dark side shit with Smilo, and May gets her mind wiped so they don't have to hold her accountable for any of her crimes. The fire, the assaults, the murders, the manipulation, the backstabbing, all of it, all the lives she has ruined. All of this is fine as she can't remember it.
Poor girl. You've been through so much.
Because once again, when the Force is female, women can do no wrong and can't be held accountable for their actions. It's against the law. And if you don't believe me, watch the next scene.
16 years ago, 4 Jedi were stationed on the planet Brendok. A conflict ensued. There were many casualties. The Jedi conspired to keep their actions secret. When the truth threatened to come out, a rogue Jedi named Soul killed his accomplices to maintain the cover story.
And there it is. The final nail in the coffin. The only thing this man was missing to round out his story. Being framed and disgraced. She betrays a friend that she's known since he was a youngling and burns his body to erase the evidence. After 16 years of unwarranted guilt, after all the love he showed, he is strangled, abandoned, and thrown under the bus.
Soul made a mistake. A mistake he lived with for so long, it twisted his mind. He justified every selfish step with the love he had for your sister.
Liar! Liar!
The story of Soul is something that needs to be documented and studied to prevent future writers from repeating this mistake. A perfect showcase of twisted morality, and possibly the worst show I've ever seen. And joins the ranks of Mulan 2020, Midsummer, Game of Thrones Season 8, and The Last Jedi as one of my most despised stories. You did it again, Disney. You did it again. Fuck you.